There are a lot of powerful chapters in the book of Micah, and chapter 2 is one of many. And our verse for the day is from chapter 2, verse 2. And this chapter really is cataloging some of the social ills, the social evils of the people, and Micah is denouncing them. And one of the examples is they covet fields and seize them, houses and take them away. They oppress householder and house, people and their inheritance. So we know that going back to the Ten Commandments, one of the commandments is thou shalt not covet anything that belongs to a neighbor. And yet that's one of the sins of the people, is covetousness. I remember one time enjoying some Cracker Jacks, and there was a line with Cracker Jacks that said, the more you eat, the more you want. And unfortunately, that can often be our situation as people. The more we have, the more we want. The more we eat, the more we want. The more of anything, then we're not satisfied, and we want more, more, more. They're not known for their theology, but the Rolling Stones had a song, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And that really seems to be the situation for a lot of human beings. And if we can't get no satisfaction, another way of saying that is we're never satisfied. Enough is never enough. And so through chapter 2 here, Micah contrasts the human plans, the evil plans that people come up with what God is going to do. And I want to point out that in chapter 2, you have commenting from the people that Micah is quoting, do not preach. Thus they preach. One should not preach of such things. Disgrace will not overtake us. So like in Paul's letters, here we're hearing some of the critique that is coming back Micah's way. Basically, people don't want him to talk about this. We don't want to hear about the fact that we're covetousness and we're coveting and we're greedy. Don't tell us that. Don't tell us God is going to judge us and our nation's going to get conquered because we're not living as God tells us how to live. And then Micah says in verse 11, if someone were to go about uttering empty falsehoods, saying, I will preach to you of wine and strong drink, such a one would be a preacher for this people. In other words, people don't want to hear God's word. They just want to hear something that they agree with that makes them feel good. And that is not what a prophet is called to preach. It's not what a pastor is called to preach. A prophet has to share the truth. And the truth is there are consequences for social evils. There's consequences to injustice and to greed. And I know I sometimes feel like I'm repeating myself over and over as we go through the prophets, but that's because the message of the Bible is repeating itself over and over. We are to be people who are just and honest and incorruptible, who are open to God's word and God's will, and not people who selfishly just pursue our own ends for our own benefit. We're going to hear as we continue through Micah, there's more to come.